Zach Mesquit, and I'm the Chief Blonding Officer for Wella Professional.
And I'm Daniel, North America Brand Ambassador for Wella, and we are here for
the 75th anniversary for Wella in North America. All right, so I know you grew up watching your mom and your sisters do hair, and you initially thought, oh, I'm gonna go to college. So what made you decide at some point to pursue hair as a career?
So it's actually funny, right? Because my family, I was the first one to go to college, but there was two options that I was given. Either you're gonna be a priest or a doctor. Yes. So one of my cousins, one of my cousins became a doctor, and so that was like, oh, we have to have one too. And then I don't know, my mom's trying to buy her way to heaven, so he's like, you gotta be a priest at some point. So then I tried to again go to college, and then I figured out it wasn't for me. You know, I wanted to be more artistic, and I've always again watched my sisters and my mom do hair, so I feel I was doing interior design because it was still kind of artsy. But the last year and a half of before being done with the program, I was like, I don't want to do this. So then I moved.
So you went for a while before you
decided. Oh yeah,
I
was almost done. And then I moved to Chicago trying to find myself. And then I didn't find myself. And then I came back. I think I was very broke, and I was like, I can't stay here. So then I came back and I went to beauty school without my family knowing. Because I knew they were gonna have a fit.
They wouldn't approve.
Oh my God, they were so upset. I just wanted to do something that I was passionate about, and I feel that I never quite felt passionate about doing something unless I was doing hair. And I was always doing my friend's hair in the kitchen, and I remember stealing one of my sister's razors from her salon once. And I would tell my friends to come over, and we'll glue extensions in the back of her head.
The glue-ins,
and then I was just razoring the crap out of them, and I just always felt happy doing that. So that's how I knew I wanted to do it.
It does make you feel happy to be creating something, and also creating something that makes people feel better about themselves. My path was slightly similar too, in the sense that my family also wanted me to go to college. I tried it. I was like, I hate this. And when I told them I wanted to do hair, they're like, you're not going to make any money. You're going to be struggling. And they were very disappointed, but I was like, this is what I want to do.
And I feel like it's because it goes back to the same thing. It's a last resort thing. That's for people that couldn't make it in something else. But also I feel like people are now well educated in how many branches there is in the beauty industry and how many things you could do. I mean, we're here with Wella today, and we're doing things that I never thought I was gonna be able to do. So it's now they're cool with it.
Right.
Now they're like, oh, I'm so proud of you.
Now they're
and I'm but now, not 10 years ago. But that's how I kind of started. I know you started experimenting with hair since you were very young as well. And as we all know, you're very known for being the king of blonding, right? And I mean, it doesn't look like it right now, but when you've done my hair, it's honestly the experience I have from being lightened by you and being blonde. It's so different to anything else. The way you apply it, the way my scalp felt, the way my hair felt at the end was very different. So what made you, or what got you into knowing it's gonna be blonde and that is what I want to do? And that is the career path that I want to take.
I think for the initial, what drew me to it was when I realized, as a teenager, when I'd be coloring my own hair, my friends and stuff, I realized that getting the hair, not just blonde, but super white platinum was such a challenge. So I think initially, just my personality type, if I like to challenge myself with things. So when I realized, okay, this is the hardest thing to do as far as hair color goes, I was like, I want to just become really good at it. Initially just for myself, because I, for whatever reason, decided one day that I wanted pure white hair when I was 17 years old. And so just through a lot of trial and error and ruining my own hair many times and stuff, I became good at it. And so then I was kind of trying to figure out what I wanted to do, because I said, I tried college, I hated it. So I was like, I could at least go to beauty school, and that way I could make at least enough money to live on doing hair. So I was like, I can do that, and then maybe go to night school and figure out what I really want to do. think I saw it as a way to where I could like accelerate myself to like the level I wanted to be at quickly if I just focused on something that not a lot of people wanted to
Right.
do.
And I mean, education outside of like personal experience is really good to have, but I feel like there's nothing best than like what you did. It's like you experimented on your own,
Yeah.
and no one can teach you what you learned on your own. I always tell my assistants, I'm like, I just throw them in day one. I'm like, figure it out.
Yeah.
I don't know
That's
what
the
it's
best way
gonna
to
do.
learn.
It's the best way to learn. So like, I feel like that definitely probably helped you a lot.
Yeah.
I see no yellow in the hair, and I'm freaking out. And so when you're doing my hair from personal experience, I just see you like look at it, and I'm freaking out already. But you're like, no, it needs to see. How do you know when?
When it's ready?
Yes.
It's really just like intuition, I guess. I've done this for so long that I can know just by looking at it and feeling it, like when it's where I need it to be.
I will say though, since I started using Blonderplex, I do feel less
Oh yeah, it's
tense
way more
about,
yeah,
right? Like
because it's protecting your hair.
Blonderplex is just like really good.
Yeah. It definitely switching over to Wella about 9 years ago now, I think was definitely helped me to be a lot more relaxed
Yeah.
with the process because, you know, back before the technology was not the same, you know, what was available to us. And since switching to Blondor back then and now Blondor Plex, it definitely takes the stress factor away from the whole bleaching process for sure. So Wella is celebrating 75 years in North America this year, which is super exciting. And you made a big switch in your career by transitioning from another brand to Wella. So what motivated that decision and what excites you the most about this next chapter?
I feel like Wella came to my life at such a like pivotal like point in my life. So it happened so organically too. I feel like we all face that time when like our career is kind of like doing really great, but then also like what else?
Mm-hmm.
And so I was kind of like unmotivated and just not feeling like inspired. And I felt that I had to relearn everything that I already knew in a different way. So then I switched to Wella first by educating myself on like the brand, and then I fell so in love with it that it just like changed the rest of like what I was doing. And then the partnership came about it, and I feel like it's changed the way I do hair. The education I've gotten through Wella has been eye-opening because I was so used to only knowing what I knew for the first 9 years of my career. So now that I know that there's so much more, and the core system of what they believe in and how they give you the education, it just kind of elevated my whole career like a lot more than what it used to which before this I didn't know any better. So it's like I just knew what I knew, and I thought that was like the best. I don't want to be cocky, but I was like, you know what I'm saying?
Next level
yeah,
now.
I just kind of took it to the next level,
Yeah.
and like it showed me that there's a lot more. Also, in comparison to what I was used to, once I switched to Wella and I became partners with them, the amount of creative direction they allow you to have to everything you do really elevates whatever you're doing, because you marry the project and you get to baby it from the beginning to the end, and you're in charge of wardrobe, makeup, and your ideas are heard, and they really let you explore that side of you, which to me was really important because I didn't want to be like a robot.
Exactly.
Like I want to be able to like give my input, and also put my personal spice onto whatever I'm doing. Because then I always say like it's not even about selling, but it's like you can fall in love with something more when you know about it, but when you also hear about it from someone who loves it, like truly, and so that's the way I feel about Wella. And so it was super easy just to like transition, to be honest. Once the education was set and I started using the product, I was like in love. So I'm excited to see what else we continue to do with them. Okay, so Wella is celebrating the 75th year anniversary. If you were to pitch Wella at a party to like the best of your peers, how would you describe Wella, or how would you personally pitch it to
How would I pitch Wella? I think the main selling point for me for Wella, for like any stylist, is that for whatever your style is, for whatever it is you're trying to create, there is something within. There's such a huge range of products and color lines and aftercare and everything that it just doesn't leave anything to be desired. So I would say that would be my number one, because obviously I could talk all day about the bleach and how great it is and the toners, because that's like what I do. But even for a stylist that doesn't even do blondes, like just everything that is available within the brand, it really covers
Everything.
everything.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the things you and I talk about often too, how I love the fact that if you run out of one thing in one portfolio, you're safe choosing it for the next one, because you know exactly what you're getting.
Yeah.
And so you're always going to have something to use. So it just makes it really user friendly, and you get what you are supposed to get.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. So you call yourself the Chief of Blonding Officer.
Chief blonding officer.
Chief Blonding Officer. Yes. What coined that name, and what does it mean to you when you say that? And what do you think it means to others?
Well, I think others are a lot of times confused when they say it. It really honestly just came from when I first partnered up with Wella it was back in 2018. My agent came up with the title, because she was like, we got to give him a title other than just brand ambassador.
Yeah.
And so we just thought it was kind of like a kitschy little
Yeah, it's cute.
CBO. What does that stand for? Chief Blonding Officer.
That is so funny.
Because it's my thing. You know, it's
Yeah.
blonde, so.
Damn, I don't think I have one.
We have to come up with one.
We have to come up with one by the end of this.
Okay, so your work, I would say like dimensional and like rich is like the best way to describe your work. And I feel like you're really good at analyzing like not just the hair, but like the client themselves, their features, their coloring and everything. What goes into your process for like formulating your color for your clients?
I feel like I do have a leg up because I used to do makeup. So I do understand undertones in a different way because I'm looking at it at a different perspective. I'm super into just like making sure that the hair color is not gonna make you look dull and things like that. So my approach really is to understanding what balance means, what contrast, and how high of a contrast you should have. It's also personal preference. I mean, you can tell someone you're gonna look best with this than not, you know. But I think for me, it just really helps me to understand that and educate the client onto why this should be better than the other one. Because a lot of people want ashy tones, yeah? Let's say, so like if you follow me on Instagram for a long time or any social media, like I've been pushing for warmth, especially here in North America, like it was like heavy, like they wanted gray,
yes, they did.
Blonde, right? And sometimes I'm like, you are very olive, like there's no reason why you should have that undertone. It just washes you out too much, right? So kind of putting together my knowledge and color and then makeup, I was able to just in my head. It's funny because I can look at you and I can tell like if something's gonna look good or not. And I think like with me also being an independent educator, it's been really interesting trying to teach this to other people, like how to see color the same way you do, or even my assistants, because everyone sees color very different.
Well, it makes me think of another question. Like, do you think there's a part of that that's like something you just can't teach some people? Like either you have it or you don't, the eye?
No, I feel like you can learn it.
Anyone can learn it?
I don't think you can teach taste, but I can teach you how to see color and why. If you know the basic of, it's kind of like saying yellow neutralizes, violet neutralizes yellow. You know, those are things that you can teach. So it's color theory is very universal, and that goes to with like skin tone. You know, it's like I wouldn't put ashy on olive, or I wouldn't do like a violet red on someone with neutral tones, because then it just washes you out. You know, so I think that could be teachable for sure.
Yeah, I feel like whenever I see you you break down like the red carpet looks
Yeah.
and like, oh, this is how I would change it. They always look
Yes.
better, but I don't
And
see it. Like,
sometimes
I
it's
could,
like the smallest thing.
Yeah.
And it could just look. So when you're talking about hair and like, I know it's, when I say contrast and all that, it sounds very like vague, but it's like, in order to determine what looks best, you have to look skin tone, eye color, eyebrow, and natural color. So it's like, it's not that you can't be blonde. Let's say Khloe Kardashian. I mean, she's a beautiful girl and she's done everything from light to dark, but she should never be like, I mean, she wants to, she can't. But like, ideally, like a level 8 lightest would be the blondest. She should be based on her features and eye color, because the super blonde kind of blows her features out too much. And so, but then she also shouldn't be darker than a level like 4, because then it's too dark, you know? So she has to remain in between those levels because of her skin tone and also features. So it all has to make sense.
Yeah.
You know, it's eyebrows, skin tone,
Yeah.
and then hair.
That's very fascinating.
I don't even know how to explain it, to be honest. I just know that that's how it works.
It just comes to you. It's
You
just
know?
the intuitive part.
Yeah. So maybe that is the part that you can't teach. The
That's what I'm
intuition
saying,
part of like,
Being able to look at somebody and be
Yeah.
like, okay, you would look best with these.
yeah. Because if you have green eyes and they're like, okay, use warmer shades to make them stand out, like that's something you can teach. But the intuition of like how warm is too warm and how light is too light, I feel like that you can't teach.
Okay, so going back again to Wella celebrating our 75 years in North America, this is something that has been a legacy that's been built on innovation, and we know it's artists, you know, like you and I and all the other artists that make up the community that keep pushing these things forward. So what is one way that you feel like you have left your mark?
Ooh.
Not that your career is over.
Personally, I know, like, that's making me sound very old. It's like getting the lifetime achievement, like, award. It's like, wait, I'm still going. I personally cater to a gap that has felt kind of like unseen for a while. And I know where I stand and who I represent. So I feel like my mark has been embracing the people and the clients and the other stylists who haven't necessarily felt seen and heard, and now they can have someone to relate to.
Oh, that's really important.
And that's probably one of the most things I get, like on DMs, like
Yeah.
everyone's super like happy about that. So I feel like that's my like little like ding.
Your contribution. I
You
love
know
that.
what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's not just about me, you know?
Yeah.
It's a whole ass
Yeah.
world. Well, we all know that being authentic is the best way to stand out amongst like all of the millions of people that are on social media. What is the most vulnerable and real, which you're really good at this, by the way, and this is something I compliment you on the whole time, but what is the most vulnerable and real moment you've shared with your followers, and was the response you got something you expected?
It's hard to pick one because I feel like the way I approach like social media and stuff is I kind of will just like an idea will pop in my head that I want to talk about something and I'll just pull out my phone and film it. So I don't really put very much thought behind it. I, even though I do like to like keep it real, you know, or whatever on social media, I don't share like, I don't feel like I overshare, you know, and go too deep into like my personal like life stuff or things like that. But I would say vulnerable in the sense of sharing how I approach like my techniques and stuff with hair, because it is very opposite of what most people think is the right way to do things. So I was a little bit nervous, I guess, back in the day when I first started to put myself out there. There was like this little like transitionary period where when I first started really showing like how I do things, that I would get, and I still to this day, like 13 years later, do get a lot of negative feedback. But yeah, I think it surprised me the most that just me simply sharing what I know and how I do things could incite so much negativity. I would have never thought like, oh, if I put content out just showing, hey, this is how I do what I do, or this is what I've learned through my experience, that like people would be so pressed about it.
Yeah.
I think that surprised me.
You are very outspoken about specifics, which they do tend to like trigger. And I feel like I find them very interesting because not most stylists won't really talk about it, which is pricing. And you're very transparent
Oh, yeah, that's a good
about
one. Yeah, pricing. Yeah.
how much you charge. And I do feel personally it's such a good way to keep the industry transparent and also understand that like it takes a lot of work to do what we do. And I love that you are not afraid to like talk about it. So
Yeah, I think it's important, and I wish more like influencers and stuff in the beauty industry did talk about stuff like pricing, because it's good not only for us as like the professionals, because you can kind of gauge, you know, based off of your, you know, where you're at in your career, what you should be charging, but also I think it's good for like the clients out there, the consumers to hear, so that they can be a little bit more realistic, because I know you probably have seen, like I know I have so many videos of like a disgruntled client getting in their car after they leave their hair appointment and they're all, I paid $75 for this, and it's like, yeah, it looks like you did, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They're not really aware of like what the going rates are for good work nowadays.
do you feel like there should be like a standard price throughout in the industry?
No.
No.
I don't, because I think everybody, I'm not going to charge for a haircut the same as maybe some celebrity stylist who only cuts hair, because that's, even though I can do it, it's not going to be like, it's not what I'm known for. It's not what people are coming to me for. Whereas they're not going to charge maybe what I charge for a root touch-up, you know? So I think it's all relative. So I definitely don't believe in like standard pricing. So you are always a big advocate for warmth in the hair, which I'm glad to see is being more embraced a little bit now, because I'm sick of the days like when everyone wanted like gray hair personally. But why do you think so many people are afraid of warmth in the hair? And how do you personally help like your clients and also other stylists that you're teaching to like see it as a good thing and not a bad thing?
I believe it was actually a big deal in a bad way, because the conversation around warmth was talked about in such a negative connotation and like in a bad way. So I feel like it started with me changing the conversation I had with my clients behind the chair. Instead of saying like, oh, it's so brassy, I gotta fix it, it changed to like, okay, you're a little bit warmer than I need it to be, we need to refine it a little bit more. So they started seeing warmth that's not something you have to avoid, but just something that needs to be there, that can be refined, and then when needed it can be enhanced as well. So it's just changing the conversation with the clients, and also with being an independent educator and also educating with Wella. I really have had the chance to bring light to the fact that warmth is needed in the hair to shine, to feel healthier, to retain color. We often talk about how clients don't feel like light enough sometimes. And I'm like, you're so light, your hair is gonna break if you go lighter. But a lot of the times it has to do with tonality, you know? So again, me pushing warmth has a lot to do with the fact that I wanted to achieve a specific look, and then it never happened because clients were so attached to this like brassy word, of like brassy is bad and things like that. So again, changing the conversation, but also the meaning to what brassiness really is, right? And we talk about warmth, we're talking about something that's done with a purpose, not something that's raw or anything like that. So also proving it with, work, you know? We often talk about our Asian community not being able to wear warm tones or like coppers, and I've definitely debunked like all those ideas, because I have turned multiple beautiful clients that are Asian into warm colors that for years people thought you could never have. Again, it's understanding like you can be warm, now which kind of warmth. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's where people got lost in the sauce.
It can mean a lot of different things.
It can mean so many things. So just education, honestly, just changing everyone's mind.
Like
rephrasing it.
Because brassy sounds like, oh, like there's something wrong.
But let's say I told you, oh, it's so brassy in like a nice way, like, oh my God, it's so brassy. But you know,
Yeah.
It was like, ew. It's so like, you know what I'm saying? Like the way you also speak on things has an effect on like how like this client may go somewhere else and say, oh, they left it so brassy. So they already see it as a bad thing. So it's just like you kind of have to create like a snowball effect of like, oh wait, maybe it's not that bad.
Yeah.
So next time maybe you move out of state or they decide to go somewhere else, they're gonna talk about it also in a different way.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So we all know you're very passionate about nature and gardening and fish ponds and and being outside. I know you're huge on grounding as well, which
Yes.
it's really nice to see. How does your connection with nature influence your work behind the chair? And also, do you feel that nature helps you stay inspired? And do you grab any inspiration from that?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, nature. I've always been just very drawn to the natural world, like since I was born, pretty much. So I've always just been fascinated by it, and I like to spend a lot of time in nature and everything. And I definitely would say I draw inspiration from it as well, because I feel like, you know, if it wasn't for all of the man-made things that we have in our environment, nature is the source of everything. So. I mean, I would say I draw a lot of inspiration as far as like the toner formulas that I come up with. Sometimes in my mind, I'll visualize like a flower that I saw, or like how a stone can have like some iridescence to it. So I feel like a lot of the times the visuals that I see in my mind that inspire what I try to recreate on hair, they're always natural elements. Like I personally, the way my brain works, I don't. Like if I was to create a mood board, for example, for a look, it wouldn't be like fashion. It wouldn't be like clothing and makeup and all that stuff. It would be like rocks and flowers and trees and like stuff like that. So
I could see that. I can definitely see like a lot of stones being your inspiration for a lot of your colors. Because I could actually, it's funny because I can see it when you're showcasing your work. I'm like, oh my God, that could be like a stone color.
Yeah.
You know, so
I've always loved rocks my whole life.
That's really cool. How big is your collection of like
crystals and stuff? Oh, the hundreds and hundreds.
Yeah.
They're all over my house. They're all over my salon. I have no idea how many.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So I know you've recently, beyond doing hair, you've stepped into the role of product development, and you have your extension line that recently came out. So tell us a little bit about that whole process of creating that, because that's amazing.
Yeah, so one of my other big passions is hair extensions, and that's something that I provide a lot to my clients. And so I always found that I had to do a lot of extra work to make sure that extensions look natural on my client's head. And so for the longest time, I was just like, how do I create less work for me, but also how do I make this budget friendly for my clients? Because then they have to pay the extra amount of money to create the color. So it's like I'm paying for the extensions, the install, the color, plus the extra coloring on the extension. So we partner up with the hair shop, and I presented a collection of 20 colors, and I had to say why they needed them and how they can improve. And I handcrafted every single color based and inspired on Wella colors that I do on my clients. So when I presented this to the board, it was actually the Wella formulas on top, and then my client that I used them on, and then the extension color I created from a blank canvas, which was like a level 9-10.
Yeah.
And so everything that you see on the extensions was handcrafted by me and then produced that way after. But it took about a year and a half of work, and it's probably one of the most fun experiences I've had, aside from obviously working for Wella and doing the shows, and being able to creatively like just have more freedom. I've always wanted to develop a product, and hopefully maybe I get to do one with Wella soon.
That'd be awesome.
Right?
Yeah.
So you have worked and mentored a lot of stylists, right? So what is the one piece of advice you wish someone would have given you at the beginning of your career? And how do you advise other stylists to find their niche, like talent in the industry?
Okay, so for the first piece, like the piece of advice that I wish someone would have told me early on in my career is to not be afraid to say no to a client, because I kind of had to learn that just
Yeah.
the difficult way. You know, the first couple years of doing hair, like if you get that little feeling that this client
The
is
gut
going to be,
feeling.
difficult, just say no. Like it's better to literally not make any money that day
Yeah.
than to have a headache of a client in your chair. So just getting comfortable with saying no. I think in beauty school they kind of train you, and even when you're first
The opposite.
yeah, they tell you to just like be a people pleaser and just try to make everyone happy, and like you just can't. So
Yeah.
I would say that's my piece of advice I wish I was told early on. What was the second part?
The second part is how would you advise someone to find, how would you help someone find their niche or like,
So I think the best way to find your niche in the industry is to try a little bit of everything in the beginning, at least everything that interests you. Like if you really have no interest in learning something, don't waste your time. Like I knew from day one, nothing about being a barber was interesting to me,
Right.
so I never even explored men's hair.
Yeah.
But whatever you are mildly interested in, I think is important to at least look into, take a few classes, even just watch YouTube videos. There's so much content out there now from, people like us who are constantly putting out little tidbits of info about what we do. And then I think once you kind of explore the different things you're interested in, then you start fine tuning what you have a knack for. And I think it's important to just keep expanding on what you're naturally inclined towards. Because I think if you try to push it too hard, you will like maybe get good at it, but you won't enjoy it. But I think as long as you're doing the kind of work that you really enjoy creating, you'll never like feel burnt out.
do you feel that also creating, because we talk about a lot about like finding your niche, but also departmentalizing, right? Do you feel like that will stop you from growing faster, or can you still get there?
Oh, like if you're only like
So
specializing in
let's say me, I do a lot of dimensional work and I present it a very specific way. Do you feel like it maybe would have been faster growth if I would have just kind of like done a little bit of everything?
I personally don't think so.
No.
Because, like you and I, we kind of started our hair journey at like the same time, and we both kind of had parallel careers pretty much. And I think it's because we both kind of do the same thing. As even though our work is very different, we focus on what we're good at.
Yeah.
And so I think that's why, like I noticed when I used to work in a salon, because I've been in a private studio for like 6 years now, but I just noticed I was way busier and making way more money than the stylists in my salon that have been doing hair for decades, some of them, because I think it's because people out there nowadays, the clients are looking for specialists, at least the ones who want to spend money. They'd rather go to somebody who really seems like they're good at whatever it is
Like
they're good at.
specifically.
Yeah, I think.
Like, yes, a lot of people do blondes, but I want to go to you because only you can do blondes the way you do.
Yeah, it's like there's that phrase that goes something like, I don't know how, I'm gonna butcher it if I try to say it, but basically if you try to be like good at everything, you're not really great at anything. So I think it's better to pick one or two things and be really great at those things.
I mean, this was so much fun.
It was
I
a
think
lot of fun.
we definitely need to start a podcast.
Yeah, we're gonna
Together.
start our podcast. This is a great practice
Yeah,
for us.
yeah. I feel like it
Our
felt
flow is
really.
well, we've always gotten along so good since like day one, so.
It's everyone, then Zach and I are walking like on this side.
I
Then
know.
we're going somewhere else.
I know, right? We stay out of the drama. Yeah, this has been really fun.
Yeah.
And we both desperately need our hair done.
I know.
So I'm glad I'm
Monday.
seeing you on Monday.
10 a.m. Don't forget.
I'll be there.
I know. I can't. I feel so bad. I really tried to look cute for today, but
I mean, it
looks fine.
It adds some dimension.
I know.
The root.
But Monday.
We'll be there.